What up, gang? It's Derek at Central Coast Disc Golf, here with Brody Miller after round 2 at the West Coast Disc Golf Championships, and we're going to take a few minutes to ask him some questions.
Let's do it.
Okay, so go ahead and tell us how the day went.
Day was good. 50% birdies, 18 under for 36 holes. Pretty solid. No McBeast, but I'll take it.
What would you say is the most important disc in your bag that is not your putter?
It's definitely my Latitude Saint. It's a very usable, straight to understable fairway driver that I can manipulate and make a lot of different shot shapes with.
What's something unique or quirky about your game that people might not know?
I'm not sure. I have a pretty solid spush putt, I guess they call it. So you might not know that about me.
Preferred Feldberg, beard or no beard?
I was a fan of the beard. I thought it was pretty good look for him. Yeah.
Good man. What's your favorite McMenamins?
Definitely the Grand Lodge McMenamins is my favorite. It also has a disc golf course on it, so I'm kind of partial. It's a beautiful place.
How often do you get confused for famed skier Brody Miller or Brody Smith, the ultimate trick shot guy?
Quite a bit more than I'd like. I take it pretty well, so yeah, it's all right, but definitely maybe at least a couple times a month.
For someone who's rated around 900, 920, trying to up their game, what would you say elevated you to your current level of play? Is it focus on putting, upshots, or consistency, distance off the tee?
I would definitely say the amount of hours of repetition you can put in is going to be the most important. Not everyone has perfect form, or we're all shaped or built a little differently. So doing what you can do, repetitive motion, building that muscle memory, you know, you will see improvement if you get out there and practice.
How important do you think business savvy professionalism is to the growth of the sport, or should always be enough to be really good at disc golf despite the marketability of a top level player?
I mean, my outlook might differ from some players, but I feel like of course it's a bonus if you're a great player and you're representing a company well. I think it's even better if you're out there working hard for a company, so you're a good asset rather than just being a great player.
Who has had the most influence on your throwing form? I would imagine your dad had a big influence, but it seems you have some similarities to Feldberg's form.
Definitely. I mean, growing up in the game for a long time, I've kind of taken bits and pieces from everyone who I thought did something well, and even today I'm constantly, you know, if I see something that I'm struggling with and I see someone who does it well, I try my best to steal a bit of that or emulate it. So right now, you know, I'm still evolving, but definitely my dad, you know, Feldberg's got a clean swing for sure. I've been taking a little bit of my approach game from Johnny McRae lately. He does it really well, so, you know, here and there.
What are your disc golf goals for the rest of the year?
I'm just gonna throw them, man. I'm gonna get out there and throw them. Sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. You know, I really don't put too much pressure on myself to play well, and a low pressure environment is where I excel.
Speaking of Johnny McRae, you spent some time with him on this touring season. Is he every bit as sweet as he seems?
He's quite the gentleman, yeah. I've spent a good amount of time playing and hanging out with him and his wife. They're both, you know, great people. I cherish the time that we've had this year. It's been really great.
How does one become sponsored by Latitude 64? And what are your favorite discs in the Trilogy lineup?
Sponsorship from Latitude, you know, any company isn't really just handed out, so you got to work pretty hard. You got to get out there. Latitude especially, you can join up with Team Trilogy just to get your foot in the door, start throwing the plastic, start showing them you're interested. They'll keep some stats. You can play for points, you can win some things, and not only that, but you're in kind of a clutch, like a tight-knit little group of players to kind of bounce things off. And the more you're in it, the more you're talking about the plastic and they see you throwing it, the more likely it is that you're going to get recognized.
I've seen you play something like 8 rounds, and I don't think I've ever seen you drive forehand. Do you feel like you're missing out by not throwing forehand, or do you prefer happily relying on your Anheuser's?
I do throw a forehand. I also practice a forehand quite often for when the time calls for it. I will pull it out and throw it. I use my backhand so dominantly that I feel like my release is more consistent, and if I can make a backhand shot and I feel like it's not going to get me into trouble, I would rather go that way because I'm just so smooth at it. But I do practice it, and I will use it if I need to.
What are your thoughts on the influx of Oregon players getting sponsored and doing more traveling within the last year? Do you think it has more to do with the exposure from Worlds, the expansion of new companies offering sponsorships, or are Oregon players taking their game to the next level?
Maybe a little bit of both. I think Oregon, our course is set up really well to kind of teach you a bit of everything you need. It's just, and our weather's pretty great. You know, we get rain a lot, but if you don't mind getting a little wet, you can play almost every day of the year. We're pretty lucky in that regard, but we do have some excellent courses which shape your game to a certain level.
Do you give 3 tips for a beginner to improve their game?
Throw straight discs. Don't get sucked into the hype with overstable plastic. Anytime and every time you can, club down. Throw a putter, mid-range, work on your form to keep it straight in the fairway. You'll save strokes automatically. And practice putt as much as you can. Anytime you get downtime, practice putt, because putting will drive you crazy. That's just as simple as that.
What's a quick tip you could give to someone who's interested in trying the straight arm Swedish style that you and Feldberg use? And what's the most important aspect or something most people might do wrong?
I mean, more or less when you're trying to make a certain swing, like if you really want a certain style of swing, you have to realize that everybody's built slightly different. So some swings might not actually even be possible with your body type, or your length, or your lack of length in your torso or arm length. So you really have to decide like what you're built like, what your natural swing feels like and looks like. Maybe film yourself, see what it looks like, and then decide from there where you can actually make improvements and what you can do with your swing to modify it or improve it.
You've been with Latitude 64 a while now, and you've probably had a chance to test a variety of Trilogy offerings. What were your main distance, fairway, mid-range, and putters before your sponsorship, and what are they now?
With Innova, I was throwing destroyers for long distance. I was putting with an XD, and I was throwing rock for my mid-ranges, a variation of rocks. And now I'm throwing, with Latitude 64, I'm throwing a World and a Giant for my distance shots. I'm throwing a Mace for my mid-range shots, and I'm putting with Zero Hard Pures.
Since joining Latitude 64, Feldberg has lost his beard, yet you and Ricky have grown beards, kind of today. Is there something about switching to Swedish plastic that also makes you want to switch facial hairstyles?
I don't know about the Swedish plastic having an influence. Maybe it's because we're staying up late at night, like trying to figure out how to get the win. I don't know what it is exactly.
So you just mentioned a minute ago, how would you define your putting style? Spin or push or spush? Yeah,
it's a spush. I go low in my swing. I actually do a big no-no is I bring the putter all the way down to my leg, and the nose of the putter goes flush to the ground, which you don't really want to do because it's going to cause you to putt low a lot. I bring it up and then I push spin it. So I create a lot of velocity at the last second, which makes me a fairly aggressive and hard putter. Yeah.
How long did it take you to adjust to the Trilogy discs from your old ones?
Actually, it was a fairly quick transition. I switched over my entire bag, and within a couple of months I was putting up some pretty good scores. I think I really had to hone in on what molds were going to work for me, so I had to go through a couple of times and revisit different discs. I'd say after 6 months I had a pretty good idea of where I needed to be and what was in my bag for permanent.
What's your favorite home course?
Probably Estacada Timber Park. It's a lot of fairway drivers. I can take fairly new players out there, and it's not discouraging, and then it's still a lot of fun for a seasoned veteran out there. Get some good scores.
What's your routine before a tournament?
It'll vary. I don't really have a set routine, but I'm also kind of new to the travel life and the tour per se, so I switch it up. I do whatever feels good that day.
How did you personally get involved with Latitude 64?
It was probably a benefit to me that Dave lived in Portland for a good amount of time, and so we had played a few rounds together, and we'd also competed over the past few years. I guess maybe he saw something that he thought I could do well out there.
Do you throw any other understable fairway drivers other than the Vision? And is the late turning hyzer flip your favorite shot?
I do like hyzer flip golf, and you know, I'll put it in my bag as much as I can. I actually am not bagging a Vision at the moment. I'm throwing a Saint, a beat up Saint in that slot. I think right now I probably have like 4 Saints in my bag, and I have beat up Worlds and kind of a beat up Giant. So,
what makes Cherry Bomb stand out from other disc golf apparel companies?
For me, it stood out because I met the owners. You know, we sat down, we had a talk, kind of went over what their goals were, what they like to do in the community, and for me that's huge. They're working with kids to help fund school programs and get disc golf in there. You know, they're doing a lot of good things. The owners of the company were really great guys, so for me it's really easy to hop on board with a company like that that's willing to give up their time and put in community work. That's number one.
How amenable are you to the nickname the Champagne of disc golfers?
I don't know if that's a keeper for me. I'm not sure I'd keep that one.
On average, how many attempts do you think it takes you to get one of your shots in your trick shot videos?
Whew. I don't know, probably 0. I've never done a trick shot video.
Must be that other...
Yeah, that confusion. We'll count that as number 2 this month.
So what are you... So that's all the questions we have. What are your next stops and anything else you want to add?
From here, I'm going to go to Santa Cruz and I'm going to play the Masters Cup, give it my best shot. You know, Paul shot a 39 today on a course. It was amazing. I watched him, he had putts falling in sideways. It was pretty sick. You know, I'm sure it's all on video, so check it out.
All right.